All right, what's up? This is Will from Flow Candy, and today we are breaking down Tarte Cosmetics. Before I jump in, some quick housekeeping. So, if you have any questions, you can always message me on LinkedIn. I link to myself right here. Um, you can just message me. I read every message, so I will get back to you. Um, Also, in this, people ask me, like, where are the resources sometimes? Okay, so click on this, it'll go to the swipe file, which is like the actual all of the emails. You can click on this. It'll show the benchmarking file that I'm going to go through in a second. And then obviously, you're already watching the video, but you can click on this to watch the video. And then sometimes some of you guys ask me, hey, I want to talk to you about like getting my brand or category audited or benchmarked, or I just have some questions about Klaviyo, email marketing, e-commerce, breaking down brands and whatnot. So you can always click on this link here, and you can book a call with me, and we'll chat through it. All right. So with the housekeeping out of the way, let's jump into this brand. Okay. So I'll start with the benchmarking first. So these guys are a traffic machine. They're driving millions of visitors a month. Also, they have a lot of Instagram reach. I don't think I've broken down a brand that has this much Instagram reach, maybe since Skims. So they're doing very well. Also, pretty good TikTok reach too, and YouTube reach. It's rare to see them all, or these are like YouTube subscribers, but it's rare to see like 3 or 4 social media channels like really kind of scaled up. Normally they do one well. And I know you could say, well, Instagram is scaled up pretty well, but a lot of times I'll look at an account that has a bunch of millions of followers on Instagram and there's nothing on YouTube, or vice versa. So these guys are really driving a lot of traffic, and it's pretty dialed in. I will jump into their benchmarking in a second, but I want to go into their frequency. So again, they're sending about 20 plus, sometimes more, but definitely around 20 a month, which means they have a pretty dialed in cadence, a pretty dialed in campaign calendar. Um, they're planning these things well out in advance. They probably have an email design system and a team, whether that's an agency or someone in house, like a life cycle manager, a CRM manager, um, or and have access to designers and developers. I think you need that kind of org chart to be able to deploy this many campaigns a month. Tech stack wise, so interestingly, they are using Salesforce for their, I think, Salesforce Marketing Cloud as their email software. And then for SMS, they use Attentive. All right. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the actual email messaging strategy. So I benchmarked them at about a 14, which is pretty good. I consider anything over 10 to be good. And then like 15, 16, 17, 18, I've scored some brands that high. Actually, I scored them at a 15 because they did do it. I saw in early access. So any brand over like 15, I consider like pretty elite at email marketing. So um, you can learn a lot from these guys. So let's dive into some of these emails. So just right off the bat, like one thing they do very well, or they do a lot of, is they send a lot of promotional emails. So I'm just looking at August right now. This is August of last year. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 promotional emails back to back to back to back to back. Okay. So, and again, I don't know their segmentation. I don't know if they're like, they're blasting this out to everybody because, this system is not perfect. Um, it scores it based off the campaign angles. It doesn't, I don't have access to segmentation. I don't have access to reporting. I don't know their open rates, their click through rates, their bounce, their spam, unsubscribes, the revenue. So that, typically when I have access to all of that, when I'm auditing certain brands, I can benchmark it a lot better, but I'm just going off publicly facing, like what I see. And So that, I mean, that's just one thing that they just really send promotional emails out, and I bet it drives a lot of revenue for them. So that's probably why they're doing it. Also, they'll do a lot of like sales and stuff like that, sale periods. Here's some more interesting angles that they're deploying. Um, so I would maybe consider this like a category or a collection based type email. Um, this is a loyalty email. You don't see a lot of brands do this, but this is probably and I scored it as that, where it's like, first off, you have to have a loyalty program to do it, but the segmentation here is probably like, okay, has not signed up for Tarte perks, so send them this email. So they have some loyalty stuff. Also, one thing they do in their footer that they always do is shop now, pay later. I recommend a lot of brands do that, especially if you have a higher average order value. For them, it doesn't make as much sense. You know, their average order value is probably like $50 if I had to guess. But for brands that have average order values over 100, 500, we have even worked with someone that one of our clients has an AOV of $1,300. Those are no longer impulse buys, and having like buy now, pay later really helps. Moving into some other emails, and I'm just in August, this is like a quiz or survey email. Um, so I scored it as that. Again, you don't see that a lot. And then they're doing back in stock stuff as well. So yeah, I mean, just looking at, I mean, this again, coming into more promotional stuff. This I would can score as more of like a social proof email. So I scored them that. And they do social proof emails. They do some interesting things with social proof too. Let me see if I can find one that they do really well. They do a lot of like stuff like this is sold 50,000 units, or featured in this magazine. Let me see if I can find it. Like, yeah, if you go and you look at their subject lines, it's a lot of like social proof based, um, sold in like, yeah, like 50,000 locations or 50,000 units. So they do a good job of that. I don't know if I guess I can't find it. They send so many emails, it's hard to find. But that's one thing they do with their social proof. Um, I gave them, I scored them an FAQ email. You could say this is technically not FAQ, um, but I'm normally pretty reasonable with this stuff. Like occasionally you'll see these emails where they'll ask like a question in the heroes. So let's see if I can find it. Yeah, here's one. Can your mascara remove in tubes? I don't know if that's a typo, but yeah, I mean, so I would consider this, borderline FAQ email. Normally, I would like to see like other FAQ questions down here. Um, do you know your shade? That's sort of like a FAQ, more of like a quiz leading to a quiz. Um, so I will give them that. Um, they do a lot of product focus, collection focus sort of stuff. Um, so let me give you an example of that. Um, like you could say this is product focus, but also a blend of promotional. Um, you could say this is more product focused, where it's talking about the tape trio. Number one concealer, this might be more collection focused. Um, get ready for wedding season, this would be collection focused. So they do a lot of this. It's not just all promotional emails. Um, it's not just all, get 50% off or 30% off or buy one, get one free. So they do that. I've gone through some of the social proof. I showed you an example of a survey now or quiz. Somewhere in here is a trending now. They don't do it a lot, but there is. If you go through this and you go through all of these emails, they will do trending now, like trending viral on TikTok. Like when their products go viral on TikTok, they'll bring that up. Another brand that does this very well is Elf Cosmetics. They literally have a weekly email that's just like trending on TikTok. So they did that. They also do collabs. I would consider this a collab. Tarte and Sports Illustrated. They're doing, sometimes one of these a month. So I marked them as that. Also, when they launch products, they'll do early access type stuff. Let me see if I can find one of those. Anytime they launch a new product. Okay, so this is the viral on TikTok one. I found that your favorite now in brown. This one had a viral on TikTok subject line. Let's see if I can find these product launches. I don't know if I can find it. Where is it? This is the social proof one that I was talking about, where it's like 50,000 sold in a day. So they'll do that a lot. I think it's the LifeLock. They just had launched that, and I don't have the subject lines pulled off. This one right here, I scored them. This is like a team, team spotlight, customer spotlight, charity. So they scored high on all of those for stuff like this. And if you go through, you'll see they won't do it a lot, but you'll see a couple of these a year or a quarter. They did one for this one's for Women's Day. I think they did one for maybe Earth Day. But you'll see a lot of stuff like that. And then just a ton of promotional emails. Like literally they're and when they do the promotional emails, they really put them in batches. Like this 4 for 50% off. They might have my hunch is they might have like a campaign calendar. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this promotion like 4 for 50% off, and we're going to do it for the whole week of what is this, April. And so we're going to send out 4 emails on it, or we're going to do a 30% off everything sale, and we're going to send two emails out on it. So that's one thing they really do well. They really know how to line up the promotional emails, as well as the product launches and stuff like that. So that is basically it. Again, this is a pretty dialed in brand. Anything over 10 I consider good. 15, 16, 17, 18, you're starting to get into like elite status. So I would rank them. It's sort of, I'm not benchmarking them against some of their competitors. Like I don't have Elf Cosmetics pulled up, or there's so many in the beauty category. But I would imagine they would be up there. So hope you get a lot of value out of this. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime on LinkedIn, and I will answer any of your questions. All right, take care.